Good morning and welcome to this Burnley Borough Council Licensing Act 2003 hearing. Present we have Councillors Jeff Sumner, Lorraine Mahana, Ivor Emo and Anne Kelly. We have Mr Hargreaves, the applicant, Jill Sherratt, applicant's agent, and Mr Lorne, who has made representations. Officers from the Council, John Clucas, Licensing Officer, Catherine Wardby, Head of Legal and Democracy, Eric Dickinson, Democracy Officer, Alison McEwen, Democracy Officer, and Paul Barlow, Streaming. Eric, thank you.
Thank you. Welcome to the meeting. The first item is the appointment of chair. There are 3 members who have been appointed to the licensing subcommittee with 1 reserve. The 3 members are Councillors Jeff Sumner, Lorraine Mahana and Ivor Emo, with Councillor Anne Kelly as the 4th reserve member. So are there any nominations for chair for either Councillor Sumner, Mahana or Emo, please?
Yeah, I'll put myself forward there, please, Jeff Sumner.
Are there any? Is that second? Thank you. Are there any more nominations for any other councillors? So can councillors please vote for Jeff Sumner to be chair? Just say aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Councillor Sumner, you are now the chair of the licensing subcommittee.
Okay, well, thank you for that. So we'll go straight into agenda item 2. Apologies for absence.
Non-chair.
None. Okay, thank you. Number 3, minutes of the last meeting. Obviously, people's read the minutes. Are we all right with that? Are we all right with that? Yeah. I accept that then. Thank you. 4, agenda 4, additional items of business.
Not received, chair.
Thank you. Item 5, declaration of interest. Have we any interest? No. Tell us no. Item 6, exclusion of the public. Is that per agenda? Okay.
Can members please affirm that they're okay to take the item in public, please? Yeah. Thank you.
You're not here. Okay. Item 7, determination of a premises licence application, 54 Church Street, Burnley. I believe that I hand over now to our officer John Clucas for his report.
Chair.
Do you want me just to run through the procedure as to the order of speaking before you hand over to John?
That's fine, yes, Catherine,
yeah.
Yes, please.
Thank you. Yeah, the procedure today is going to take the form of a discussion. Generally, cross-examination in licensing hearings is not permitted unless the licensing committee specifically think that it is appropriate. Each party will be given an equal opportunity to present their representations, and the procedure for the hearing is as follows. The licensing officer, Mr. John Clucas, will prepare his report, and the subcommittee can ask any questions of John Clucas, as can the applicant, their representative or the objector. Then it's the objector's turn to make their representations, and again there can be questions by the subcommittee or by the applicant or their representative. And then finally it's an opportunity for the applicant to present their case, and again they can be questioned by the subcommittee or the objector. Then there is an opportunity for all of the parties to sum up. The licensing officer will do his summing up first, followed by the objector, with the final word going to the applicant and their representative. And at that point, the subcommittee will deliberate and make a decision on the matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. So, shall we move over to John Clucas?
Yeah, good morning, councillors. Good morning, everybody. My name's John Clucas. I'm a enforcement and licensing officer working for Burnley Council. Hopefully you've already had sight of my reports under agenda item 7. I don't intend to go through it word for word, but I will pick out bits that I think are relevant. And of course, as Catherine's just said before, if I can clarify any points after I've presented my report, I'll be happy to do that. So this morning we're considering an application received from Burnley Bargain Foods Limited for a new premises licence for the premises at the basement of 54 Church Street in Burnley, and that's under the Licensing Act 2003. And you should already have a copy of the application for that in your papers at Appendix A. Members are recommended to make a determination with a view to promoting the licensing objective. Just to remind you, that's the prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, the prevention of public nuisance, and the protection of children from harm. The panel must take such following steps as considers necessary for the promotion of the licensing objectives, and the outcomes that you can arrive at today are: you could grant the application subject to the mandatory conditions consistent with the operating schedule. You can impose additional relevant conditions to such an extent as considered appropriate for the promotion of the licensing objectives. You can exclude any of the licensable activities to which the applicant relates. You can amend the times for all or some of the licensable activities, or you can refuse the application. The key points: it's received by our office, the application, and copies of the application were sent to all responsible authorities, and there were no objections or representations made by any of the responsible authorities in relation to this. We received 2 representations from members of the public: Mr. Lorne, who's present at the meeting today, and his representation is attached at Appendix B, and Mr. Ahmed, who operates or is associated with a local taxi firm with an office space near to the applicant's premises, and his application or his representations are attached in the papers, Appendix C. Now, the applicants within their application have put in their operating schedule what steps they intend to take to promote the 4 licensing objectives, and anything that they put in there becomes a condition of any license granted. As I've mentioned before, notices of hearing be sent to the applicant and each of the persons from whom the licensing authority has accepted a representation. Just moving on to the policy implications, the first document I will refer to is Burnley Borough Council's Statement of Licensing Policy, and that is the policy that councillors agreed last year. It's a 5-year policy, and that is the template to which all applications, objections, reviews, etc. should be set against. I won't go through every item of that, but I will highlight in my report item 3.5. Your licensing policy says we will not deter any person from making representations in respect of any application or seeking a review of a license. Where a representation is received which is not from a responsible authority, the authority will in first instance make a judgment whether or not it's relevant, i.e. based on 1 or more of the 4 licensing objectives, and relevant representations are representations about the likely effect of the premises license on the promotion of the licensing objectives, and those that have not been withdrawn or are, in the opinion of the council, not frivolous or vexatious. At 7.8, it goes on to say the onus to provide evidence will always be on the person or organisation making the objection or review application. So the onus is on the person making the representations. The authority may impose conditions where relevant representations are being made following an application to grant or vary a licence, or where a review request is being considered. At 9.2, it says the council recognises that the only conditions that should be imposed on a licence are those which are appropriate and proportionate to the promotion of the licensing objectives. And there may be circumstances where existing legislation and regulation already effectively promote the licensing objectives, and no additional conditions are required. At 9.3 of the policy, it says where conditions are imposed, they will be tailored to the individual style and characteristics of the premises and event concerned. The next document that I will refer to in my report is an extract from the Home Office revised guidance that's issued under section 182 of the Licensing Act 2003, and the latest version of that was issued in 2018, and that's relevant to this. Item number 9.9 of that report, it is said that it is recommended that in borderline cases that the benefit of doubt about any aspect of a representation should be given to the person making that representation, and the subsequent hearing would then provide an opportunity for the person or body making the representation to amplify or clarify it. I've also got to make you aware that you've got to take into account the European law on human rights, and the background papers that I've mentioned before are the Burnley Council's Statement of Licensing Policy and the Home Office revised guidance issued under section 182 of the Licensing Act 2003. I don't intend to say any more in relation to this, but I will be happy to try and answer any questions or clarify any points from any parties. Councillor Summer, I think you are on mute at the moment if you're trying to say something.
Okay, thank you very much, John. So, Catherine, just the next person, please.
Yeah, I think if members have got any questions of Mr. Clucas, now's the opportunity. After which point you can ask the applicant and his representative and Mr. Lone if they have any questions of Mr. Clucas.
Okay, thank you. Members, have you any questions you'd like to ask for Mr. Lucas? No? No. Mr. Leon? Mr. Leon? Mr. Leon?
No, I have no question for Mr. Clucas.
Sorry, just if I can interrupt just for 1 minute, Chair. Mr. Lorne, I think your internet connection is quite slow, so it might be better if you turn your camera off. We'll still be able to hear you, but it doesn't take as much internet speed, so you won't freeze.
But now? Is it better now? Chair, can you hear me now?
Yes, that's much better.
Okay, thank you. No, I don't have any question for Mr. Clucas.
Okay. Catherine, next speaker, please.
Yeah, I just please just ask the applicant and his representative if they have any questions of the licensing officer.
Thank you. I don't have any questions, but I do, it won't form part of your agenda. I do want to make submissions about the relevance of the representations. I want to ask you to make a judgment on that before the hearing takes place. And I want to make submissions about it as well.
Well, Ms. Sherritt, I guess now is the appropriate opportunity for you to do that if you want to make representations to the committee, and then advice as appropriate can be given to them to help them.
Yes,
Okay.
Thank you very much. Yeah, good morning, everyone. I'm here to represent the applicant, but it's my view that this hearing shouldn't go ahead. I will make submissions as to why. You heard there in the officer's report that the first job that we have, not necessarily actually at committee stage, of a licensing authority, is to make a judgment on whether representations are relevant. And it's about the likely effect of the premises license, that is the sale of alcohol, on the promotion of the licensing objectives. And it's my submission to you that these aren't relevant representations. The public safety objective is engaged. That is the one that we're here to consider. And you'll have read the representations. Fortunately, they're quite short, and they're about parking. And they're about parking and deliveries, deliveries that are already taking place for all of the goods. Mr. Lone's representation is not only, in my view, irrelevant, and I'll expand on that in a little while, it's also vexatious, and I will just refer you to the document that forms part of the bundle for this hearing. And it's an extract from the guidance at 9.5. It is for the licensing authority to determine whether a representation is frivolous or vexatious. A representation may be considered to be vexatious if it appears to be intended to cause aggravation or annoyance, whether to a competitor or other person, without reasonable cause or justification. And it talks about proportionality. That's 9.5 of the guidance. Mr. Lone owns a premises that is closed, that has an alcohol licence on the ramp just above on Church Street, but he also owns another off licence, I think, and I'll happily be corrected on this, but it's fairly close to this premises. You can see the nature of the objection, and in my view, it is quite clearly vexatious. When we're coming to the point of relevance, it's both of the objections where we need to look at relevance. Parking isn't, never has been a relevant consideration in an alcohol license, and you only need to go through the guidance, your own statement of licensing policy. Every document relating to licensing never ever deals with parking in terms of alcohol. Like I say, the deliveries are already taking place and will continue to do so because of the amount of goods that are being delivered at the premises. Public safety is about the physical safety of customers when they're in a premises, when they're on a premises. Leaving the premises only ever comes into consideration during the nighttime economy, people getting away in taxis and their physical safety because they've had a drink. That's what public safety is all about. And I'll just refer you to the guidance here at point 2.7. Physical safety includes prevention of accidents and injuries and other immediate harms that can result from alcohol consumption, such as unconsciousness or alcohol poisoning. That's what public safety is about in licensing. Parking has no place. And again, you in your own policy state that you will not duplicate other regimes because parking is dealt with in planning and highways, and it doesn't have any relevance here. So what I'm asking of you is to consider that. I know that you will do. Consider it, and this hearing, in my view, should not be permitted to go ahead because there is nothing relevant in either of the objections for you to consider. And as you know, the objectors are only entitled to amplify what it is that they've sent into you. So this hearing needs to be effectively dismissed, and that is what I'm asking. And if you choose for the hearing to go ahead, then I would ask respectfully for full reasons as to why you consider these representations to be relevant. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, Catherine, does Mr. Leon get the chance to respond?
Well, Chair, we can do it two ways. We can ask him to make some submissions in response to that, to the arguments put forward by the applicant's representative, which I think probably is fair. And then you can take some legal advice from me in relation to the relevant parts of the policy and the Act, which are related to this issue. And then maybe you wish to deliberate the matter. So yes, I would suggest that you invite Mr. Lone to set out why he thinks the licensing objectives are engaged and to deal with the issue of whether or not this objection is based solely on the grounds that this application will be direct competition to his business.
Okay. Mr. Leon, are you available? Are you there?
Yes, Chair. Yes, Chair.
Yep.
I have refurbished my business and I'm almost ready to open that. And it's just next to that, and even going towards the Burnley Bog and Booth, they are just going just next to me. And we are using the rear car park for our parking of vehicles. And when the forklift is being used, it is dangerous for everyone, whoever is walking on the walkway, which is the common walkway for myself for the taxi people, and taxis are coming out of it. And if you personally go and see that, how difficult it is to be come out from that entrance. And if the forklift is operating over there, it make more worse. And already the slope is so bad. They had an accident. They have thrown that the pallet onto my gable wall with pictures I have attached on on my statement, page 11. And the thing is, when they are using forklifts are for the ground surface, for the plain surface, not for the heights like this. And if you see, there's another picture which shows the picture. Picture number 9, where that blue car is parked, that is actually a boundary wall of a school. If you see that the vehicle, the forklift got out of control and the pallet is being dropped onto the slope. If forklift got out of control, it can go straight away into the school, which is a hazard for the school children's. And not only that one, because the Burnley Bargain Booth is just where it is stated that that place is a car park behind the buildings. And in other way, we can say it's a hidden area for the youngsters to drink and do the fly tipping in the back. And like it's being in the town center, and we know that what sort of problem we've been having there before. So this is to be granted a license and provide a hidden space for the youngster to be drink behind there. This is a public nuisance, and it's a fly tipping as well, because when they drink, when they use that place, they can throw that into the car park and the land, which is private land for me, and which is not suitable. Even when the Burnley Bargain Booth, they've been cleaning up, they've been throwing the rubbish into my backyard in there, and even they have thrown the rubbish into that my stairs, which is going to in the back. I forgot to be put that picture on, but if you want, I can email it to you, that picture as well. These are the nuisance. It's causing problem. And if you see on the page 9, you can see a way going left-hand side, way going towards my entrance of the back, from the back garden, backyard. They've been throwing all the rubbish in there when they are cleaning up. And we already have a problem with these, the takeouts. The people get the food and then they throw that into the our this public way. And it is a problem for everyone. And if we grant a permission to them, we are providing them another hidden place where the kids can drink, where and the nuisance can cause into the town center. And if you see the picture number 10, I know he's receiving delivery. For this one, I have emailed it to the DC, Development Control, how they got a permission without telling us, and they start operating there. I'm still waiting for a reply back from the planning, because this place was a car park, and when that is going to be get changed to a use of business, we are not aware of that one. So if you see on page 10, their forklift is on the footpath, and when they receive the deliveries, they just park onto the church street and then go onto the footpath to be take everything from the delivery vehicles, and use the forklift onto the footpath and take it down, which is quite dangerous, because we are nearby school. And when I was running that business was running, we know how busy they are, and the school kids, when they are coming and going back, it is so dangerous for them. to walk while the forklift is working. And according to the another thing, when you say about the deliveries which they are having, they are not having a deliveries like the glass bottles or other things. Just imagine when the pallet fell there, if there was a glass bottles, it was glass everywhere. So alcohol always come into the glass, and that's dangerous as well. So these are the things need to be considered by committee, and these are my objections.
Okay, thank you. John, am I right to ask for your intervention with, first of all, the applicant's representative, then obviously with Mr. Leones, following that, please.
Yes, sir. Yes, Chair. First of all, just addressing Ms. Sherratt's view. As a licensing authority, we administer a process. So that is, applications are received, letters go out, and we then get representations based upon the application. We received 2 from members of the public. As Ms. Sherratt said, they are copied to you. We then make a determination whether or not they are relevant to the application. The only thing that I will say in respect of this was the representations were received on the very last day of the period. So there wasn't an opportunity for me to have discussions with the 2 representatives. They came to us as a fait accompli. And I've tried to advise both of the people making representations of the fact that there's only things that are relevant to the Licensing Act that can be raised in this forum. And I've advised them that there are other avenues, such as planning, enforcement examples that they can take up in relation to that. Just in respect of the substantive argument from Ms. Sherratt in terms of the relevance of these, we took a view in the office that public safety is quite a wide definition, and that may include access to emergency services should the need arise for that to take place, and other matters that we thought that these were deserved some merit in terms of their relevance to the application. And I just then looked at the guidance, and as I mentioned in my reports, there's something that we thought specifically assists me in, or our office in, making that determination. And I've mentioned it before, it's section 9.9 of the Home Office revised guidance. And this is the thing that has led us to the hearing today, because section 9.9, it does say it's recommended in borderline cases, the benefit of doubt about any aspect of a representation should be given to the person making that representation, and the subsequent hearing would then provide an opportunity for the person or body making the representation to amplify and clarify it. So it's based on that paragraph 9.9 of the guidance that we're here this morning. We could have made a determination that both of the representations weren't relevant, but in the interests of fairness, we thought it's only right that Mr. Lone and indeed Mr. Ahmed should have the opportunity at least to present a case before you this morning, and then for the licensing subcommittee to either add weight to their representations or to dismiss them. But that's done in an open, transparent manner to promote, democracy and the like. In respect of planning matters, I've had discussions with Mr. Lone and Mr. Ahmed and advised them of alternative procedures. And I am aware that there has been a query raised with planning, and that is ongoing in respect of the car parking access issues in relation to the applicant's business address.
Okay, thank you, John. Catherine?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I would just like to point members in point out some relevant policy information. I would concur with Mr. Clucas that you need to take into account paragraph 9.9 of the section 182 guidance, and that's set out in there in the report, which does clearly say that you should give the benefit of the doubt to the person making the representation. I note that Ms. Sherratt refers to section 2.5 of the guidance relating to public safety, but I think I would concur with Mr. Clucas that public safety is a very wide area and can include people leaving the premises, and I don't think it necessarily just means when they've consumed alcohol. I think it.
Sorry, Catherine, I think you've managed to mute yourself. I couldn't hear that last section there.
Sorry about that. I've lost some equipment off my table, and it then muted the button. Yeah, I was saying that public safety is a wide area, and I don't think people leaving the building is just simply when they've consumed alcohol. I think if it's a licensed premises and they've been to buy alcohol, that I think it can include the safety of those people, however they leave that premises. So I think we need to take into account the principles of natural justice and the equality of people. So my view would be that you proceed to a hearing and consider certainly Mr. Lone's representation. He does refer to all the licensing objectives within his letter, and I think it's arguable that that he has met the test, because he's certainly demonstrated there is an issue, potential issue, with public safety. So my suggestion would be that you weigh up all those factors, but that you wouldn't be prevented from considering the matter if you wanted to consider his representation. But if you wish to deliberate in private and you want further advice, I'm happy to give that.
I prefer that, Catherine, to be honest, because it is going from one way to another here. If we can do that with the members.
I think, is there something that Ms. Sherratt would like to clarify before we?
Yeah, that's fine.
If I may, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I just want to.
Sorry, Jill.
No, thank you so much. Just want to respond. You know, I've been in licensing an awful long time, and 9.9 borderline isn't in relation to whether something is irrelevant or not. That is a completely separate standalone consideration for you. Something being borderline is if a person making an objection might say it's going to cause a public nuisance, but doesn't expand on that. That would be borderline. They haven't given any specific detail, but we're going to give them the benefit of the doubt. And I totally get the point about democracy, absolutely, and fairness. But the reference to borderline does not cover irrelevant representations. You've got to determine whether something is irrelevant in the first instance. And I'm afraid that it's there in black and white. You have to link this to alcohol. Bearing in mind these deliveries and everything that's happening is already happening and will continue to do so. You must relate this to alcohol. It's quite wrong to say that you don't have to. And 2.7, and I referred to it before, and I'll ask you to read it: physical safety, prevention of accidents that can result from alcohol consumption. It would be a nonsense to suggest that you have to consider physical safety for somebody buying a packet of crisps and some pop. That's not what we're here for. So you have to link it directly to alcohol. Parking, deliveries, I will point out, as Mr. Lone has effectively been permitted to give his whole representation to you, that the deliveries on the top road are being made by all of the businesses up there. Coach and Horses and all of the other shops up there, so they're not doing anything different. They're using a forklift. He just happens to have taken a photograph of time when something came off the forklift. Normally it isn't a problem. The deliveries are only once a week, and they have proper procedures in place. That car park is not Mr. Lone's car park, it's somebody else's. The point being, parking isn't relevant in licensing, and I would invite you to public safety, yet it might have a wide remit, but it still has to specifically link to the sale of alcohol. Why is the fact that there's beers on a crate going to create an issue more than if they are Kellogg's cornflakes or soft drinks? That is exactly what you've got to look at. And in my view, it's transparently not relevant because it isn't in any licensing case law, guidance, your own statement of licensing policy. And I would ask you to make a judgment on that basis, because, and I will say another legal point is that Mr. Lone has started to talk about public nuisance and children. He's not mentioned that, and you'll know he can't start talking about that today because he hasn't referenced it at all in his representation. So we are, in my view, going to be talking about completely irrelevant matters to an alcohol licence if this hearing is permitted to proceed. Thank you.
Thank you. Over to you, Catherine.
Well, Chair, if you wish to deliberate the matter and consider the representations made by Ms Sharratt, then I suggest we do that in private if that's what you wish to do so, but you'll need to make the appropriate resolution.
Yes, I'd like that, Catherine, please. You could sort that out for us. Alison, could you deal with that?
We just need members to take a vote on that, Chair. If all members are in favour, then that's no problem, but they do need to vote on that.
I'm happy with that.
Yep, okay. Paul, could you take the meeting into private session, please, on the stream? Welcome back to this Licensing Act 2003 hearing for Burnley Borough Council. All the previous participants are still in the meeting. Eric, if I could hand over to you, please.
Thank you. On behalf of the chair, I'd like to read out the decision made by members. The decision is to continue the hearing and to hear the objections. This is based on the guidance in 9.9 regarding borderline cases, and also in the interest of natural justice. It would relate to the potential relevant objections on public safety and the other objectives mentioned in the objectors' statements. It would give the opportunity for those objections to be amplified and clarified, but it would be restricted and not extended to the objective relating to protection of children from harm, because that is not mentioned in Mr. Lone's statement.
Okay, is that okay? Thank you very much. Mr. Leon, are you still with us?
Yes, Chair. Yes, Chair, I'm here.
Okay. Well, we'd like you to put forward your representation, please.
Yes, Chair. As I have sent my objection through, I've been operating off license for the last 28, 29 years in Burnley Borough Council. In Burnley Borough, the thing is, to be operate a license, we need to be very calm and see that everything, the attitude of the person who have applied for license is not suitable. He get wound up, and his behavior with the public, with the neighbors, is not right, and it can cause lot of problems when he's operating there. One thing, as I have mentioned before, the school is just nearby, and the school time, and it is causing lot of disturbance. Other day, he have parked the vehicle just in front of me as well on my business, which is, I'm sorry, I can't have it while I'm operating there. So these sort of things need to be considered, please. And as I have put all in the statement, I don't mind. I've been helping him before, but when he comes to open that business, I did spoke with him. He said, "Oh, I'm just going to do the food, and I'm trying to provide a reasonable price food to the community." I says, "Fair enough. That's everybody's need in this hard time." And then all of a sudden, he just come, "Oh, I'm trying to sell the alcohol." He put the application without, like, he being very friendly before, and all of a sudden he being sly, and then he did that. If he had told me in the first position, yeah, I'm going to do that, I don't mind that way. But if somebody is sly like this, it is not fair. It is not fair.
Mr. Leon, have you finished?
Yes, sorry. And to the public safety, the way he is operating is too dangerous, and it can cause any problem for us.
Is that finished, sir? Mr.
Yes,
Leon,
sir.
have you finished?
Yes,
All right.
I am.
Councillors, have you any questions to Mr. Leon? No, for that one. Jill, you're still with us there, aren't you, Jill? It's your opportunity now to present your representation, please.
Thank you, Chair. I take it you want me to go, yeah?
Yes, please.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much for that. Yeah, I'll be as quick as I can. I'll just introduce you to the company and the owner. The application, as you know, is for off sales. It's 9 in the morning till 7 p.m. and you are dealing with, it's Burnley Bargain Foods Limited. You're dealing with essentially a small supermarket type operation, but with a difference, and I'll tell you about it. So they're going to sell all types of products that you'd expect to get in a supermarket, general groceries. They're not doing fresh at the moment, but they're doing frozen foods, all your store cupboard type ingredients. And it's a new concept that is growing in bigger areas such as Manchester, and it's the sale of mislabeled short dated stock, but lines that have not sold for whatever reason, so damaged stock, packs that have been printed upside down. Something that they've got in at the moment, I think, is cereal with Father Christmas on and things like that. So it's food and goods that would go to waste, and they are it's growing at pace, apparently, the concept, because they can obviously sell it nice at good prices for local people, because the alternative is that it is thrown away. And so that is the concept. Alcohol is another stream of income for them, because obviously they're trying to make the premises somewhere where customers can get most, if not all, of what they need in one go. And as you know, alcohol forms part of that. The types of alcohol will vary. They'll be in cans. And of course, we are looking after the applicants, and we'll make sure that the pricing of the alcohol is an important thing, and it makes sure that it complies with the mandatory condition about permitted prices. So they're anticipating that it will be approximately prices that Asda would sell alcohol for, and we'll be assisting them with all of that. So that's the general concept. In terms of staffing, you have a DPS named as Bridget Heaney. She's been chosen because of her background in Aldi. She's worked at Aldi for 6 years. She's very experienced and very capable in making sure everything runs well. She's obtaining her personal licence through Licensing Matters. We're also obtaining one for the owner as well. In addition to Bridget, they've got 3 local full-time people as well. So that's the way it operates. It's basically a daytime operation, warehouse type supermarket, all kinds of goods. Alcohol is not the focus, and it'll be about 10%, as it usually is, alcohol. Now, in terms of policies and procedures and making sure that they uphold the licensing objectives, the big positive for this, because obviously it was closed before and you've seen that car park down below, the big positive is the CCTV. They've got a new system, 31-day recording. It's got cameras inside and out onto that car park, so that's a big positive. Staff training, the training will come through Licensing Matters, which is an e-learning modules for staff, which I can tell you all about if you need to, but everybody will be fully trained. Challenge 25 will be the age verification policy, and incidents and refusals register will all be in operation. So in terms of the application, it's robust, it's as you would expect. The authorities have made no objection based on what has been offered in the first place. So there's no reason, and nobody's suggesting actually that the actual conduct of the premises licence itself won't uphold the licensing objectives. Now, to move on to the issue at hand, which is the issue about safety outside the parking and deliveries. The premises forms part of a building where there are 3 other businesses, big businesses above. So you've got Pendle Hospice, you've got Tile Giant and a kitchen showroom. There's an empty unit as well. And they all have the benefit of 25 car parking spaces between them. And that includes this premises. So there's plenty of parking. It isn't about this car park down below. But you will see that the car park down below, which is the bone of contention for Mr. Lone, is actually owned by the Coach and Horses pub. And the Coach and Horses are more than happy for the owners of Burnley Bargain Foods to use the car park. And I think you'll see, I think it's page 9, you can clearly see there the area that they've got outside the front of the premises, the one where there's a blue Corsa parked outside. The rest of the car park is actually pretty rough and ready, but out there it's a good area there for anything, the deliveries of customers to park, but they do have access to the whole of the car park if they need it. That's no problem, and it's fully accepted that Mr. Lone has his own parking space and the taxi office has 2 parking spaces, but the rest of the car park is owned, as I say, by the Coach and Horses, so there is no issue there in terms of parking. Now, in terms of delivery, I know this is what you're going to want to hear. So the deliveries come in a big lorry, as you've seen. That's quite correct. And there's nothing unlawful in that. It's in fact the way that all of these businesses receive the deliveries, including the Coach and Horses and Tile Giant. And I'm sure Mr. Lone, when he's opened his premises, is going to need to unload at the front just in the same way There's nothing unlawful there because it is a dual carriageway, so it doesn't block the road and fast. So it pulls up. Now deliveries are once a week on a Friday, and it takes approximately 20 minutes for things to be unloaded, and they come out. The Burnley Bargain Foods has 2 workers there who are specifically employed to deal with the delivery. You have the forklift truck driver and you have the banksman. They have high-vis and they do it all under a risk assessment. Things can happen, and obviously some Coke or something, plastic bottles fell off the forklift truck on one occasion, but on the whole it goes up and down that hill without any problems at all, and you can see it's pretty smooth down the bottom, and the staff help them to get it all in, and it's a seamless process. So there's no public safety concerns at all in relation to the deliveries. They're perfectly standard for an area of this nature. At the end of the day, it's on a dual carriageway. So that's it really. I think you're probably better just asking questions if you've got them. I've gone through things pretty quickly there. I will just say this is a dispute. It's a personal dispute. And it's someone who's got personal issues because he sells alcohol, and I've already made that point. I think I'm right in saying, and I'm sure Mr. Lone can clarify this if you wanted to know, but I think his premises there has been closed for a considerable amount of time, for about 8 years apparently. I might be wrong there, but it's a long time. But I will just point out, given what he said, I mean, the school's completely irrelevant. It's behind and hasn't made an objection. It's behind the back there. But you heard what he said. He had no problem when they were selling food. It's not a problem. But then has called them sly because they've applied for an alcohol license. It tells you everything. It tells you all about what the motivation is behind this objection. So that's it. It's a robust application, and I would ask you to grant it as applied for. But if you've any questions, please just ask. Thank you.
Thank you, Jill. Before I go back to Mr. Leon, councillors, have you any questions? No. I have one, Jill. I have one actually, but you've actually answered it for me. It was actually in the picture there, Mr. Leona sent in, the articulated lorry there, and the unloading of the vehicle and stuff by stacker truck and everything. That was going to be my question, but obviously you've answered that in your summing up there. So, councillors, a second chance. Have you any questions for Jill? You don't mind saying Jill, yeah. Okay. Mr. Leon.
Yes, here I would like to ask some question.
Yeah, coming to you now, Mr. Leon. Yeah, you
Yes.
can speak out, please.
Yes, Chair, as it's being said that there is a car park behind, belongs to the coach and house. But the thing is, before that goes into the car park, I got a piece of land behind my property, which is my land, and I have seen the vehicles being parked on there when the people come there. One point is that one, like I can say that they've been using my land, and in near future I'm going to fence that, and that will be just to be reduce the nuisance what is being caused by the next door the food business. That's why I'm going to fence it. I haven't fenced that before, but now I'm going to fence it. And by using the top car park, the thing is, if it top car park belongs to all of them, why they are parking the vehicles coming just in front of my business and then getting the deliveries? If they are getting any deliveries, they should use that car park. And if they use that car park, then it's block other businesses, and it's a nuisance for other businesses. I don't know why they don't put it down. And when this accident happens, when the pallet fell down, the giveaway being blocked for half an hour. And in case if somebody wants to come out, and they have to wait half an hour, and it's a nuisance for us. And it's always being a problem for us. if they do that.
Is that it, Mr. Leon?
Yeah, yes, Chair.
Catherine? Yeah, is
Just
Jill
what?
alive?
Sorry, did you just want to ask if Mr. Clucas has got any questions of Ms. Sherratt?
Yeah, it was on my list, but I was just going to go back and see if Jill was allowed to come back and answer.
I'm all right, Chair. I
Are
don't,
you
I don't
all
have any.
right?
I think those were questions, so I just didn't respond. So, but I'm
Okay.
okay. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Mr. Lucas, are you available? Can you come back
Yeah,
on this, please?
I've no questions for the applicant's agent.
You have no questions at all?
No.
Okay, thank you. Catherine, back to you, sorry.
Yes, Chair, do you want to move to summing up with the licensing officer first, then Mr. Lone, and then Ms. Sherratt?
I'm ready for that, yes, that'd be great. So, John, would you like to sum up, please?
Yeah, very briefly, panel, as I've explained to both Mr. Lone and Mr. Ahmed, this is an application for alcohol to be added to an existing premises, and I've advised him in relation to planning matters that there is forums available for him to pursue those matters through then. So I have at all points tried to advise Mr. Lone and Mr. Ahmed to seek independent advice to guide them as to what matters you will probably be considering are relevant to this forum. So I have tried my best to guide them through this, but I'm happy that they have had at least the opportunity to present their side to yourselves, and obviously ultimately it's for you to decide what the determination is.
Okay, thank you, John. Mr. Leon, are you still there, sir? Mr. Leon?
Yes, Chair. Whatever I would like to say, I have said that one. I have no further questions.
Okay, thank you very much,
Thank
sir.
you.
Over to you, Jill.
No,
Summing
Chair,
up?
I don't have anything else to add.
Nothing more to add. Okay, thank you. Over to you, Catherine. Do we sum up now?
I think given all parties have had the opportunity to make their summing up comments, the appropriate stage now of the process is for the committee to deliberate on their decision, which usually is taking place in private. So I would suggest that members make the appropriate resolution to go into private session.
Will you do that, Alison, please?
I'm happy to propose that.
Thank you, Anne. I'll second it.
Are all members happy with that? Yeah, excellent. Paul, could you move us into private session, please? Thank you and welcome back to this meeting of the Licensing Act 2003 Subcommittee for Burnley Borough Council. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Eric, are you
Yes.
available? Thank you.
Yes, Chair. The decision, the decision of members is to grant the licence as applied for forthwith. The reasons for that is that the representations were not relevant, having been considered by the subcommittee, in particular relating to the car parking issues. The licensing officer has directed objectors to pursue those issues in a different forum. Mr. Loam was unable to sufficiently amplify and clarify his objections to suggest that the licensing objectives have not been met. And Mr. Ahmed did not attend to clarify and amplify, so his objections were given limited weight. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Eric. Catherine?
Thank you, Chair. It's just to advise the parties that there is a right of appeal against the decision, and any appeal, I think, must be made within 21 days of the notification being received.
Thank you very much. Alison?
Alison, you're on mute.
Alison, you're on mute.
If you'd just like to conclude the meeting, Chair, then I'll get the stream stopped.
Okay, thank you, Alison. So that ends today's meeting. Thank you, everybody who attended.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Bye.